Hello everybody, welcome to Also Rusty Bucket. Subscribe to the channel if you have not already and drop a like on this video. It only takes 1 second and makes a massive difference in how the video performs in the YouTube algorithm. It's hot takes, let's get into it. The Grizzlies are missing Dillon Brooks more than Tyus Jones. So the Memphis Grizzlies are currently 13th in defense and they are 29th in offense. Now, maybe if you got Houston Rockets Dillon Brooks, how he's been playing to this point, you could argue that he's a net positive offensively, but historically that has not been the case. On the Memphis Grizzlies, that has literally never been the case. He has always been a net negative on the offensive end of the floor. So contrast that to Tyus Jones, who has historically been a very, very good and stabilizing force to an offense, one who is historically a net positive on offense. You cannot convince me that the Grizzlies are a defensive shot chucker away from being way better than they are, more so than a stabilizing point guard who will make sure players are getting their shots in the right spot and not turn the ball over. This is just dumb. You know, again, if this was a Rockets Dillon Brooks, how he's been playing so far, maybe I could see that. However, I don't think that Dillon Brooks would be as good as he has been for Houston in Memphis, given his track record there. I really dramatically feel as though it took that like downfall in Memphis, being told like we have no interest in bringing you back. It took that type of shit to make Dillon finally wake up to his bad tendencies, and I think if Memphis just simply re-signed him to the same amount of money that Houston did, he would be the same player that he was a year ago, and that player is not helping Memphis right now. The Bulls do not need to go into full rebuild mode. They can trade DeMar or Vooch for pieces and flip those pieces for good rotational players and get a star in free agency, as they are one of the largest markets in the league. Yeah, that's cute. They are indeed one of the largest markets in the league. However, that has garnered Carlos Boozer and Pau Gasol, and that's literally fucking it. So no, I'm not going to bank on that. And I very strongly believe that you should not put your eggs in the free agency basket, especially if you're a franchise that has historically failed in that department. The best way to build a championship team is to build them organically. You can trade for somebody and enhance that all you want, but generally speaking, I think the best title teams are the ones, and the ones that stick around for a long time and compete for a long time, are those ones that are built through the draft with the progress of the team being a collective feat rather than like constantly hitting these guys with whiplash of different teammates and different personnel. Continuity is great. I just don't I don't like Zach LaVine as a second option. I don't really know what star player you're signing in free agency. What is it, Kawhi? No, I'd rather them just rebuild it. There's too many variables, too many question marks about this idea. They might try it, but I really hope they don't. Despite good box scores, Anthony Davis does not contribute to winning basketball and has not earned a spot in the top 10 conversation. If you want to say that AD's not top 10, I probably disagree with you. I haven't checked my list in a very long time. As I've done this job for longer and longer, I care less and less about actually maintaining some specific list, but I think he's top 10. However, doesn't contribute to winning basketball, that's just a fucking stupid argument. Like straight up dumb. I don't know how else to put it. It's just dumb, because AD is one of the 5 best defensive players in the NBA. Many would argue he's the best defensive player in the NBA, and you simply cannot be one of the best defenders in the NBA, a walking top 10, maybe even top 5 defense in the league, and not be a player that contributes to winning. I don't even care what his offensive numbers are. Anthony Davis and his defense alone makes him a winning, contributing to winning player. End of discussion. His offense is inconsistent and that can be annoying, but overall AD is always a net positive. The argument's not about him being a net positive, it's about him either being a net positive or being like superstar level impact. That's where you can have a conversation, but just doesn't contribute to winning, that's just dumb and wrong. Tyrese Halliburton is a top 15 player. That might be a little bit of a stretch. I'm a big Halliburton Harden guy, especially because we were literally born on the same day. Spiritual brothers in a sense, I suppose. We look alike, we play basketball alike, we have the same amount of money. But he's probably more fringe, probably just inside the top 20. I really like his play style. I think a lot of people, he's weirdly volatile in terms of how people rank him. Either something to the extreme of he's top 15 or people thinking he's not even top 30. And I think that's ridiculous. One of the best playmakers in the NBA, and his scoring game is better than a lot of people give it credit. He's not necessarily the highest volume scorer in the world, but he is efficient from all spots on the floor. And I don't think you can ask for much more than that. The Philadelphia 76ers are better without James Harden. This is, of course, a take that I have put out there myself a couple of times, so obviously I'm going to agree with that, and I feel even better about that position having seen how Tyrese Maxey has played this year and seeing the return that the Sixers got in the trade. Got a lot of big forwards, a lot of versatility, a lot of options, which is nice to have. Really like KJ Martin for that team. Yeah, I do think that Harden kind of limited Tyrese Maxey, and I think a fully unleashed Tyrese Maxey surrounded by more role player depth is more impactful than what James Harden was bringing to the table, especially considering his inconsistency in a postseason setting. Tyrese Maxey has had limited postseason time, and when he has, it has been a mixed bag for sure, but all of that has been under the restraint of not being the second option. So I like Tyrese Maxey a lot. I think he's really, really good. The Sixers will be better with him unleashed versus him the third option to James. It's a trend to hate on Embiid. He is still top 10, if not a top 5 player in the league. Now, first things first, I want to say, if it is a trend, I was ahead of the trend because I've been hating on Joel Embiid for quite a while now. Believe me, I've gotten enough death threats from Philadelphia 76ers fans to confirm that. Here's the thing. It will always be trendy to dunk on a player who wins an MVP and then loses in embarrassing fashion in the playoffs. That always happens. Historically, that's always the case. So you can't get mad at people for doing that. If you are supposedly an MVP level player, you get held to MVP level standards. Joel Embiid is still a top 10 player in the league. I don't know if I would consider him top 5 personally, just because I have seen him fail in the postseason time after time again, and injuries have only been an excuse for half of those times. So yeah, Joel Embiid, it's perfectly valid to give him shit. He deserves it based on how we tend to treat these players. Don't be a dick to the guy. That's gonna happen one way or the other because people talk about athletes like they're just garbage and not people. However, general criticism, throwing shade at a guy, I think that's perfectly valid for Embiid, and it's not just because it's trendy. It's because that's just the way it goes. A healthy Pelicans team is the second best team in the Western Conference. You can honestly convince me of that because I don't feel very good about basically any other team in the conference. Maybe the Warriors I feel decent about just because of how good Chris Paul has looked there. The Lakers I have mixed feelings on. And the Phoenix Suns, I've said time and time again, I'm just not a very big believer in. I could see the Pelicans being the second best team. I've said this a couple of times now that the Pelicans are a healthy Zion away from we have to talk about them and they are a big deal and a big factor in the NBA. But that consistently is not a thing that you have to factor in because Zion is not healthy. But if this is the year, then it will sure as shit help quite a bit. Still worse than the Nuggets though, because I assume that's who you have above them. But yeah, that's it. Shout out to Rudy for editing this video, and goodbye.